What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my first impression of the AMC original miniseries, The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. And if you guys enjoy this video, I'll do another one once the season concludes, but I wanted to get my initial thoughts about this particular show out, as I'm sure it'll be one that a lot of people have interest in. But before we get started, just so we're clear, this video will contain some mild spoilers. So if you haven't seen the first episode of the show yet, and you're not trying to hear anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live is an American post-apocalyptic horror drama television series created by Scott M. Gimple, Denai Guerrera, and Andrew Lincoln for AMC. And it's set after the conclusion of the original The Walking Dead series, with Lincoln, Guerrera, and Pollyanna McIntosh all reprising their roles. The Ones Who Live is the sixth spin-off and original seventh TV series in the Walking Dead franchise. And The Ones Who Lived premiered on February 25th, 2024 on AMC and AMC+. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the series has an impressive 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it has an even more impressive audience score of 100%. Though I'm sure that's just because, I'm super early to this particular party, so I'm sure not that many people have had a chance to watch the premiere yet, and so I assume that score will kind of even itself out as time goes on. Now, it has a lukewarm Metascore of just 55 on Metacritic, but that's only based on 7 critic reviews. And it doesn't have a user score yet, but that's just because, again, like I said, I don't think a lot of people have had a chance to watch the show yet, as it doesn't officially come out until this evening. And finally, it has a 9.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and that's based on almost 700 reviews. So I definitely have my thoughts about The Walking Dead as in the original series. And I definitely thought that despite some of the ways in which the writers manipulated the show's audience over time, overall, it was still a pretty good show. A culturally relevant show, for years. Now, having said that, I also thought that Rick Grimes leaving the series was the day the series stopped mattering, both narratively and culturally. By that point, I think most of us had moved on, honestly. And I guess the higher-ups at AMC must agree with my sentiment because, against all odds, Andrew Lincoln is back, whether we wanted another Walking Dead spinoff or not. And though I'm fairly certain this miniseries won't have nearly the same impact that the original once did, I do think diehard fans will be more than interested to see what exactly happened to Rick, and by extension Michonne, since the characters left the original series. Now, the pilot starts off with Rick sitting at a table in what looks like a furnished apartment, staring out of the window as he explains through voiceover that he tried. Now, about what, we don't exactly know at the time, but he does this before he picks up a piece of broken glass and presses it to his neck as though he is contemplating, taking his own life. Now, from there, we get a time jump, and you guys know how I feel about time jumps, especially that early on into a piece of work. I think it's, I don't typically like it. But we see Rick 5 years after the bridge explosion from the original series. And he's on a leash that's attached to a soldier as he and a group of other people are in a forest and they're killing some walkers. Now, during the exercise, Rick sees a chance to escape, and he cuts off his own hand with a hot axe in order to free himself from said leash. But ultimately, he gets caught and returned to a city where he's being kept as what is being called a consignee, wherein he has to do hard labor, including killing walkers, for 6 years before he can be admitted as a full citizen into the Civil Republic, which is a large and apparently secret city with a population of over 200,000 people, and a law enforcement group called the Civil Republic Military. Now, the CRM, as it's often referred to, is responsible for protecting the city and the people who reside there, but part of that protection includes the idea that no one is allowed to leave. So there's that. Or you can call that protection if you want, but I don't know. There are also some in the CRM who have a secret agenda, which apparently includes obliterating other cities associated with the CRM. Fun stuff. So, as the episode continues, we find out that Rick has, in fact, tried to escape his predicament several times, unsuccessfully. And we find out that the reason why he hasn't been taken off somewhere and officially done away with is because Donald Okafor, who's the lieutenant colonel of the CRM, has been protecting him. Essentially because he wants Rick's help, along with that of Pearl Thorne, in changing the CRM and their practices from the inside. Now, Rick rebukes the idea of joining the CRM, obviously because all he wants to do is get back to his family at Alexandria. And in fact, we find out that all the voiceovers in the episode are illustrating Rick's inner thoughts as he's constantly writing to Michonne, hiding the messages along with some old cell phones with carvings of her and Judith on them in the couch cushions of his apartment. But, eventually, after some convincing, Rick does decide to join the CRM, but he does it so that he can eventually plan an escape. Because, again, the only thing he cares about is getting back to Michonne and Judith. Understandable, right? Now, he even gets into a physical confrontation with Lieutenant Colonel Okafor once he realizes that Okafor knows all about him and, by extension, his family. But after some time reflecting, he realizes that he has to put his old life behind him and focus on moving forward. And that ultimately brings us to the end of the episode with Rick, deeply entrenched in the CRM, another time jump, and he's flying a helicopter on a mission with Okafor, and Okafor being shot and killed while under attack from an unknown force. Now, that force causes the helicopter to crash, and as Rick and the other soldiers try to escape, they are set upon by a masked person with a samurai sword. And we all know who that is, right? It's Michonne. Now, the writing in this show, at least to this point, is exactly what you've come to expect from AMC, the writers in their room, and The Walking Dead as a whole. The show is still a bit of a slow burn, and the story does jump around a bit for it being just one episode, but having watched the entire pilot at this point, it's clear that the writers were trying to get to the point where Rick and Michonne were reunited pretty quickly, I guess so that they can have them on screen together in the present for the bulk of the series, I assume trying to get back to Judith. And all in all, I don't think it's all too bad. Now, I do have some bad news for those of you who found the story structure of The Walking Dead, the original series that is, to be frustrating at times. Because it does look like we're going to get some good old boomerang storytelling, at least in the next episode, because I can promise you, episode 2 is going to focus on what Michonne has been up to since she left to go and find Rick. And will more than likely culminate exactly where we left off in this episode with the two of them finally coming face to face after the helicopter crash. Now, I would say so far, I'd maybe give this show an 80% or so, an 8.0 if you're thinking IMDb score. I'm really interested to see if they're actually going to get Michonne and Rick back to Alexandria or even to the Commonwealth, so they can be reunited with Judith or not. And they've only got a handful of episodes to do whatever they decide to do here, as what's being reported is that this miniseries is only going to have 6 episodes in it total. One thing I do know for certain as a writer is that all stories have to end at some point. And in my opinion, The Walking Dead just went on way too long from a narrative standpoint to have ended with any kind of real feeling of satisfaction after having spent so long watching it. And ultimately, I think whether or not the writers of this show finally find a satisfactory ending to Rick and Michonne's story once and for all is going to be the thing that helps me decide in particular whether or not this particular spinoff was worth all the fuss. But what do you guys think? Do you think this show will finally complete Rick and Michonne's character arcs in the universe of The Walking Dead? Or do you think we're in for another TWD show that just goes on and on and on with no end in sight? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Also, be sure to go and check out themaskscreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write, and I'll catch y'all on the next video.